So I just realized that it is almost the end of 2019, which sounds weird to say, but I haven't done a what's in my camera bag video yet for this year. So this is gonna be that video. What's good, creative fan? Brandon Washington here. And first of all, if you're brand new to the channel, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button because this channel is all about filmmaking gear, tips, and tutorials. And today we're going to be jumping into gear. That's right, this video is all about what is in my camera bag. Now, I don't want to waste any of you guys' time because I know you guys probably clicked on this video hoping to know what was in my bag. So let's actually start off with that in and of itself. Let's start with the bag. So my camera bag of choice, and trust me, I've gone through a ton of camera bags, but as of right now, this is my camera bag of choice. This is the in-case DSLR backpack. Now, I actually found this thing on sale. I think it normally retails for like maybe $150, but it might be actually discounted now. Now, be careful, there are two versions of this bag. There's a deeper one that's actually designed to handle a camera like the 1DX Mark II, which is actually one of the problems I have with that camera. It was impossible to find bags that could actually fit it without taking lenses off and stuff. But this one here is the smaller of the two. Now, I went with this nice navy blue color because I personally like the way it looks. It's super comfortable. It has a lot of pockets on the outside. There's a lot of different compartments, which we're gonna get to. The zippers work perfectly. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. And the biggest thing that I like about it is the fact that it actually opens on the back side. So what that means is if you are out shooting or something like that, I know a lot of people always talk about, you know, getting pickpocketed and stuff like that. I've never had anything like that happen, but it is nice that this thing actually works from the back. Now, there is a way to access your camera from the top as well, which you could do, you know, if you just want to quickly pull out your camera to get a shot, you can access your camera from the top. So it is nice that you can do that. But let's jump into the bag itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay this thing flat. And as I mentioned before, this thing unzips from the back side of it, so that way you know that it's completely safe. No one can get into the bag. But let's go ahead and open this guy up, and I'll start showing you guys what's inside the bag. So you'll see right now, when it comes to creating that, I am primarily using mostly Canon stuff. And I don't really go out with too many lenses. For example, right now I have two lenses in the bag and then I have a couple of little things, but we'll go ahead and jump into that, starting with the camera. Now, this is the primary just run and gun type camera that I take out to create, primarily because it has the flip out screen. So that's right, I have been shooting on the Canon EOS R. This has been my main kind of YouTube content creation type camera. It takes amazing photos, does amazing video. Now, right now, I have the 100mm macro lens on this guy. This isn't the actual lens that I keep on this thing though. The main lens that I keep on here is the Canon 16-35 2.8 version 3 lens. Now, the reason why it's not on here is because I'm actually filming on that lens right now. So if you want to know how good the quality of this lens is, well, you're kind of looking at it, but I am using the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera right now in order to film this. So that is normally the lens that's on here, but it's roughly the same size, so I'll leave it on here. Now, one other thing that is always on here is my RF to EF adapter for lenses. I shoot with all EF lenses, primarily because RF lenses are, one, super expensive, but two, they're not really interchangeable. So for example, like the 1DX Mark III was just announced, and I did a whole video on that actually yesterday. But like that camera won't be able to use RF lenses. So it's really hard for me to invest in RF glass right now. And especially because, like I mentioned, my Blackmagic uses EF lenses. It's just easier to go EF all the way. So the adapter stays on here. And then of course, my EOS R is always in the bag. Now I'll go ahead and drop this back into its place and bring out my next lens, which is the Canon 70-200. Now, this is a beefy lens, but it is phenomenal. Between the 16-35, which is going to allow me to get all my wide shots and kind of my medium range shots, and then this guy here, the 70-200, this covers pretty much all the focal lengths that I need. However, there is one other lens that I keep in my bag at all times, and that is this guy here. This is the Canon 50mm 1.2. This is a super sharp lens, amazing for portraits. And again, I am aware that, you know, for this lens, the 70-200 and the 16-35, or I guess it would be a 15-35, that there are RF amounts equivalents to all these lenses, but these lenses are just more versatile to me in this setup. So the 50 1.2 is my favorite portrait lens whenever I'm not using like the 70-200, but this lens is amazing. Continuing along with what else is kind of packed down in here, you'll see that this is my drone of choice, and I always kind of travel with this drone. This is the DJI Mavic 2, if I can get it out of here. Here you go. So this is the DJI Mavic 2. It is a phenomenal drone. It has a 1-inch sensor with the Hasselblad camera on here, and because it packs down so small, it can easily just slide into this bag without any issues. The other thing that I really like about this drone is because it not only can use an SD card to actually capture video, but it has built-in storage to the drone. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and for whatever reason, I forgot to bring a micro SD card. This thing has a built-in storage, so if I need to just get a couple quick shots for a job or just for a fun project, I love the fact that it does have some built-in storage to kind of save me when I make those little mistakes, which they do happen quite often, unfortunately. I always forget micro SD cards. So I'll go ahead and drop this back into its place. And yes, there is a little protector thing that's supposed to go on here, but I don't know what I did with it. Continuing along with the bag, here you will find my variable ND case. Now this guy here goes with me everywhere. I absolutely love this variable ND case. It's made by Tiffin, and it has all of the NDs that I need in here. Minus a couple new ones that I actually just picked up and did a video on those as well. But I have my variable ND filter in here, and this is my Tiffin variable ND, and so this just screws onto my widest lens, which is my 16-35. So this is an 82mm variable ND filter, works perfectly. I also have in here a 82mm Tiffin circular polarizing filter, and again, this is so that it fits my widest lens possible. And then inside this little case, I have these step up and step down rings. Now, a couple of you guys has asked some questions in my last video about like what really are these things. And basically what they do is you can screw these bigger filters onto these, and then they have adapters on the back that allow you to screw it onto smaller lenses. So for example, like my 70-200 here actually is only a 77mm. And so I basically have this adapter here that will allow me to screw a bigger filter onto a smaller lens. That way I only have to buy one of each filter, and then I can adapt it to fit onto all my lenses. Saves a lot of space in my bag, and it saves a crap ton of money. A little bit of a pro tip there for you. All right, so this is one filter bag. I have more filters somewhere else, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, probably for my favorite, newest piece of tech that I've added to my everyday carry bag, like I never leave home without it, and that is the DJI Osmo Mobile 3. This has been the gimbal that has changed everything for me. I mean, honestly, to the fact that like I used to keep a gimbal in my bag at all times because I love smooth gimbal shots, but now I can get that with my cell phone. And with as good as the iPhone 11 Pro is, I mean, realistically, this plus my iPhone 11 Pro gets me all the gimbal shots that I need just to create quick stuff for myself and for YouTube. And honestly, outside of that, I'll use the EOS R if I just want to get some shallow depth of field stuff. But for the most part, this does all my gimbal stuff when it comes to creating for this channel. Next to the gimbal though, you'll find my Rode mic. So if I need to capture better audio quality, this is definitely my go-to. I'm still trying to figure out the audio solution when it comes to shooting on the iPhone. That is definitely its biggest, weakest point at this moment. But I mean, for right now, this is definitely gonna do. Totally happy with that. And then over here, it's pretty boring, but you're gonna find 2 additional batteries for the DJI Mavic Pro. I love shooting on the DJI Mavic Pro. It is an amazing camera, and I'm always gonna wanna have it. I think it's called, maybe it's just the DJI Mavic. No, it's the DJI Mavic 2 Pro. Yeah, that's right, right? I think so. Either way, here are the batteries. They always stay in this bag too. All right, so if this is everything that lives in the main compartments, Well, what else do I keep here? Well, basically in this little area is where I keep all of my unused batteries. So these are extra batteries for the Canon. On top of that, I also have an extra 9-volt battery for my Rode VideoMic Pro. Love it. So I always got to have a battery for it because I haven't upgraded to the Plus version yet, but that's okay. And then in this pocket here, I'm going to have all of my SD cards. And so you can see I've got this nice little case that allows me to hold on to all my SD cards. Super beneficial. As you can see, I have a ton of micro SD cards, and yet somehow I still always wind up leaving one behind. And then last but not least, this top pocket is probably the most important pocket. And this pocket is empty. This pocket doesn't have anything in it. This is where I put all my batteries that have died during the day. It's super important to keep your batteries organized, and so this is the way I do it. So that way when I get home, I can just pull all my dead batteries out of this top pocket, throw them on the charger, and not have to worry about trying to figure out which batteries are dead and which ones aren't. All right, so that is the meat of everything that's in here, but there is a couple little things I do want to kind of show you guys. First of all, it is slowly getting closer to winter time, and so you'll see that here on the side of the bag, there's a nice little pocket that you can use for a water bottle, but now this is the actual pocket that I use to keep my winter gloves in. The main reason why I do that is with it being winter and having to fiddle around with cameras and shooting and all that stuff, it's really nice to always have a nice pair of gloves on because whenever your hands get cold, you don't feel like shooting anymore. So I always keep a pair of gloves inside of my actual camera bag. And these gloves are kind of special because they use like, I don't know the technology of it, but basically it allows me to, like, if I'm using my iPhone, I can still use my iPhone while using these gloves. So super cool gloves. I picked these up, I think at Academy, but I'll have links to all the products that I've talked about down below as long as I can find them. All right, so now let's go ahead and jump into some of these pockets here in the front. And so this is kind of my quick stash pocket. There's not a whole lot in here right now, but one thing that I do keep in here now is my Sandmark Pro hybrid filters. I talked about these in another video, and I do love these, and I've been continuing to test them out. You know, I put out my first look video on these, and they have continued to really impress me. There is a 16, 32, and 64 filters in here as far as the indies go, but these also are polarized. So it's kind of those two other filters that I showed you, but all combined into one awesome filter. The only thing that this doesn't have is it's not variable, so that kind of sucks. But other than that, they seem to be really good filters, and I'm continuing to test them out. So I leave them in this top pocket. Also in here is this nice little tripod. This actually came with the DJI Osmo Mobile, so this is something I keep in the top pocket, and then I tend to use it for other stuff. Like I'll actually use it with the EOS R if I need to like set it down and get a tabletop shot, and I want it to be really, you know, secure on a table if I'm doing like a time lapse, something like that. This definitely comes in handy in those situations. There's another big pocket here where you can store all kinds of stuff, and it goes pretty deep, as you can see. I'll store like jackets in there, or, you know, other stuff that I need. Just really depends on the day. But I like to try to keep my bag as light as possible, which is why I don't pack as much. Now I know there are lighter lenses and there's lighter gear you can get, but I am a real big stickler for quality, so I try to get the best quality I possibly can. So I try to strip it down, not keep too much, which is the reason why in this big pocket here you will find that I've actually not used my laptop. So this is something that's been really interesting and I've been playing around with a lot, is I don't use a laptop that much anymore. Now my laptop actually stays docked in my office, and I kind of use it like a desktop. But I've been really getting acquainted to this guy here, which is the iPad Pro. Now, the iPad Pro is super beneficial when it comes to creating, and I'm thinking about doing like a whole video on how I use the iPad Pro as like a filmmaker and photographer. But I'm really trying to figure out what's the best way to edit on this thing. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I've downloaded LumaFusion, I've downloaded iMovie, and actually the video that I put out on the Sony a7 III versus the EOS R, I actually edited half of that video right here on this iPad in iMovie, and then I just airdropped it over to my Mac and finished editing it in Final Cut. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my workflow is gonna be, but I'm a huge fan of the idea of doing most of my editing on the iPad. So there you have it. That is what is in my camera bag, kind of finishing out the year of 2019. I absolutely love this bag. As you can see, it's kind of beat up. It's got some tears. It's got some pulls. Well, there's really no tears. There's just kind of little scratches here and there. And that's because I've been using this thing so much. I've been traveling with this thing, flew with this thing all the way to California. It's perfect for the airplane. I mean, it is an awesome bag. And this kit is really, really good for creating. But there you have it, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the gear that I carry. If you have any suggestions for things I should add to my bag, things I should take out of my bag, or ways to make things a little bit easier. I know like there are smaller drones and smaller cameras, but I'm always trying to get that best quality I can. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Link to all the gear that I use will be down in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.